Hang Gliding Flight School is a free educational resource created to share the fun and adventure of flying by encouraging, teaching, and inspiring aviators of all ages. Aviation videos provide a supplement, never a replacement, for face-to-face, in-person training with qualified teachers. Visit www.hangglidingflightschool.com for a map of nearly 40 flight instructors in the USA.
Good day, aviators, and welcome to another episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. My name is Eric, and this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School is going to be an Airfield review for Dockweiler Hang Gliding Center, located on Dockweiler State Beach in lovely Playa del Rey, California. Named after prominent California politician Isidore Bernard Dockweiler, born in 1867, the beach is also a noted historic site for hang gliding. With consistent ocean breezes of 8 to 10 miles per hour nearly every single day of the year, and a 30-foot hill facing the sea, Dockweiler State Beach is an ideal location for practicing and training in the fundamentals of hang gliding. In fact, one of the oldest hang gliding schools in the world uses this location for training 5 days a week. But before I tell you about hang gliding at Dockweiler State Beach, let me tell you exactly how to get here.
Lots of people think that Dockweiler is in El Segundo, but technically, if you look at a map, Dockweiler Beach is in Playa del Rey. El Segundo is right next to it, but technically, yes, Playa del Rey, not El Segundo. One of the easiest ways to find the location is to come to the Hang Gliding Flight School website at hangglidingflightschool.com, and you click on this map to hang gliding instructors. And that will pull up a map of schools and hang gliding clubs all around the world. So if we zoom in here to Los Angeles, and we come just below, here you can see Los Angeles International Airport, and you see just south of the 105 and just west of the 405, we have Dockweiler Beach. And if we zoom in a little bit closer, you'll see we have two markers here. We have one for the Hang Gliding School Wind Sports and one for the Friends of Dockweiler Gliding Society. And if we switch to the satellite view, you can see right here that we've got the parking lot, and then right here are the dunes. So it's very easy, very convenient. You can park right next to where the launch site is at. If we measure things out, we can see that the main area of the launches is around maybe 500 feet long or so. This is kind of the length, almost 600 feet of all the launches that are available. And then if you check from the bottom of the launch to the ocean itself, it's about 260, 250 feet. So even a really high performance glider is not going to end up in the water. Now, one thing I want to point out is how to actually get into this parking lot, okay? Because as I said, when you're coming to Dockweiler, at some point you're probably going to be by this intersection, right? You're going to come down Imperial Highway and you're going to end up here at the intersection of Imperial Highway and Vista Del Mar. Now, at this intersection, you can see there's this big sign that says Dockweiler State Beach. Do not go into this entrance, okay? Because this parking lot actually doesn't connect to the parking lot where the hang gliding center is at. So you're going to want to continue down this way. You're going to want to go south on Vista Del Mar, and you're going to go down to the intersection of Youth Center Way, which is right here. And at this intersection is where you want to pull into the parking lot. So here we can see the sign that says Youth Center Way, right? And you want to pull in to this driveway right here. Now, in the summertime, this little security booth kiosk will have a parking attendant who will take your money for parking. Now, if you're not coming in the summer, this booth is not attended in the winter months, and you'll have to come over to one of these kiosks like that one right there, and you pay for your parking at one of these kiosks. The nearest bathrooms are in this building right here. You can see with these two towers on them, and if you go down the staircase that's along the side, there are public bathrooms that you can use before you start flying. Here is the actual drive into the parking lot at Dockweiler Hang Gliding Center. So we come down the driveway, we pass the toll booth there on the left-hand side, and we make a left-hand turn, and we head all the way down to the end of the parking lot as we make that left-hand turn. So drive all the way down here, past all of these vehicles, and of course the ocean is now on your right-hand side, and that is where the actual hill is for you to launch and land the gliders from. So pull all the way down here to the end, and again, just to give you a good visual of what the place looks like. And here, when you're standing in the parking lot, when you're looking out towards the ocean, you see there's a fence and there's a bike path, and right beyond that are the hang gliders. So when you're standing on launch, you can see down the beach there, and you can see the ocean, and then you got the glider set up. So this should give you a really good idea of what the place looks like, how big everything is, where everything is oriented at. And as I said, this is a historic place for hang gliding, so there is a really cool plaque that tells you a little of the history of hang gliding at Dockweiler. Although this is a public beach, you do need special permission to fly here due to city and county laws. Los Angeles Municipal Code, Section 63.44, Paragraph B, Subparagraph 8, states that no one may fly a hang glider in the city of Los Angeles except in areas specifically set aside for flying. Los Angeles County Code, Section 17.12.481, states you cannot hang glide along the coastline except in areas designated for flying and in accordance with the rules of the county. Consequently, there are two ways to get permission to fly at Dockweiler Beach. One, you can sign a waiver and get permission from Los Angeles County Department of Beaches and Harbors, thanks to the Friends of Dockweiler Gliding Society. And number two, you can be a certified USHPA pilot and fly under the supervision of a hang gliding school named Wind Sports. Now, let me explain the difference between these two options. So, because the FAA gives us permission to fly in the United States, Los Angeles County agreed with a petition from Friends of Dockweiler Gliding Society
hang glider pilots should be permitted to fly the public dunes at Dockweiler under the FAA regulations. In other words, once you sign the waiver, you can bring your hang glider and fly anytime, as long as you follow FAA rules and fly between sunrise and sunset. You don't need ratings, you don't need memberships in organizations, you can just fly free of charge. However, Los Angeles County also has a business agreement with Wind Sports Hang Gliding School, giving them permission to teach students Wednesday through Sunday. During the hours Wind Sports is teaching, you're still allowed to bring your own glider and fly, but you need to comply with rules set up by Wind Sports, since the county put Wind Sports in charge of flight operations while Wind Sports is present. So, to summarize, if you have signed the county waiver, you can fly for free any day Wind Sports Hang Gliding School is not here. If you have the waiver and you want to fly when Wind Sports is teaching, you'll need Wind Sports Flight School permission, and Wind Sports may also charge a minimal day use fee while they are present. Now, if you're a Wind Sports student, but you do not have a Los Angeles County waiver, you can only fly here when Wind Sports is teaching. So, it's very important to understand the Los Angeles County waiver and the hang gliding school are two separate and unrelated things. Wind Sports permission and county permission are completely different.
Personally, I carry a printed copy of my waiver in my harness, a digital copy on my phone, and a copy on my website. So that way I can always produce documented proof of my permission to fly. Dockweiler is an incredibly fun location to fly. If you are a new pilot, the small hills, consistent wind, and soft sand make launches and landings very relaxing and easy. If you're a more experienced pilot, these conditions make it an ideal spot to reinforce your skills. It's also a fantastic place to safely test new equipment, like a new glider or a new harness. Most pilots in decent physical shape average about 10 to 15 flights per day, depending upon the wind speed. The more wind you have, helping you to kite the glider back up the hill, the easier it will be to get in more flights before you start to get too tired. Now, when you bring your hang glider to the beach, some people will tell you to beware of potential corrosion from the salty ocean air, but that's complete nonsense. Metals get corroded near the seaside because they are exposed to the salt air 24 hours a day and are subjected to ocean fog, dew and condensation at dusk, and morning marine layers of salty mist week after week. That is why exterior metals near the ocean get corroded. But if you bring your hang glider to the beach once a month for 4 hours on a sunny day, you aren't going to get any corrosion on your aluminum parts. Now, if you store a hang glider at the beach, the metal will get a patina on it, but not if you come visit. However, you do need to be careful to minimize the amount of sand you get in your glider bag. Since you're on a beach, it is almost impossible to avoid getting sand in your glider bag when you pack it up for the day. Therefore, it is extremely important that your glider rack on your vehicle is absolutely secure and completely immobilizes your aircraft. Obviously, if your hang glider moves at all as you drive down the road, any sand inside the storage bag could do serious damage to your aircraft and sail. But so long as the aircraft doesn't move and the sand is kept to a minimum, the sand shouldn't be a threat. Nevertheless, after flying Dockweiler, I would highly recommend you set up your glider and clean out any residual sand once you get it home. Now, if I had any sort of negative criticism about flying a Dockweiler, it would be this. It is a very shallow sloped hill, so it's actually incredibly difficult to launch when there's no wind. So, like I said, most of the time, most of the year, you get really great wind at this location, anywhere from maybe 6 to 10 miles per hour. And it's very easy to fly at Dockweiler when you have winds like that. But on those rare occasions when you do have a really low wind day, when it might only be 2 or 3 miles per hour, it is extremely difficult to get off the ground because the slope is very shallow and the hill is just not very high. So that's one thing I would caution you about, is to, make sure there is a good wind forecast before you head out to Dockweiler. On those days when we do have higher winds, let's say 12 to 15 miles per hour, it is actually possible to ridge soar the entire length of the dunes at Dockweiler, which is really, really cool. So even though these dunes aren't really high, they are fairly long, like I said, a few hundred feet. So when you start to get up to, like I say, maybe 12 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour, somewhere in that range, people can soar back and forth for minutes. Some people have even soared back and forth for hours at Dockweiler. So it's a pretty cool spot when you're really good at ridge soaring and you have that decent amount of airflow coming in from the ocean. Hang glider pilot Erica Klein has earned over 300 million views on her videos ridge soaring at Dockweiler Beach. 300 million. That is incredible. That basically means that every single citizen of the United States has seen Erica flying here at Dockweiler. Pretty amazing. Every year, there is an annual gathering at Dockweiler Hang Gliding Center to celebrate Otto Lilienthal Day, the birthday of German engineer Otto Lilienthal, who built and documented the world's first hang glider flights. I attended Otto Lilienthal Day in 2024 and had the honor of flying with Joe Faust, one of the founders of the United States Hang Gliding Association. As a founder, he could have been US HGA number 1, but he wanted to be number 5 instead. I also flew with Frank Culver, one of the pilots who was there at the first Southern California hang glider meet in 1971. Frank is also an engineer who built the very first hang glider variometer under the name Culver Soaring Instruments. As a skateboarder, I've skated with pioneers of skateboarding like Jay Adams and Tony Alva at Venice Beach Skate Park, very near some of the places modern skateboarding originated. And now, I've had the opportunity to fly with some of the pioneers of hang gliding near some of the locations where the sport began. It's truly an honor, not just to participate in the action sports that I love, but to experience connections to the people who forged those sports in the first place. Getting to fly with people like Joe and Frank is just really, really cool. And I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful to have opportunities like that. To give you a little history of the area, back in 1994, you can see that the bike path actually went along the bottom of the hillside. And the youth center and the cafe, well, they just didn't exist yet. By around 2002, the cafe was in place and the bike path had been rerouted above and behind the dunes so that the hang gliding center could be created. Now here's a very interesting shot because this is from 2014, and as you can see, the entire hill has been regroomed and all of the vegetation is gone. So they actually did reshape the hill and fix everything in 2014. In 2016, things were still looking pretty good, but you can see some of the kind of rough areas where the vegetation is trying to come back. I thought this was a pretty cool satellite photo because it's one of the only ones where you can actually see a glider packed up in the bag and doesn't have the wings spread out. In this 2018 image, you can again see they clearly just did some grooming on all of the hills and kind of fixed them all up again. And here is one of the most recent satellite images from January of 2024.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. I hope this will inspire both new and experienced pilots to check out Dockweiler Beach and get in a few practice flights. Be sure to check the Hang Gliding Flight School website to find a worldwide map of nearby instructors who will train you to become a hang glider pilot. And remember, my friends, in the words of Ray Bradbury, you've got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down.